we're gonna watch this because I haven't kept up with what's going on. All I know is that, so here's what I know about Reddit that's happening. I don't know if he's gonna go over exactly what I'm about to say or not, but he'll probably have another twist on it. But as far as I know, Reddit decided to charge anyone who's using like a third-party app or like the third-party app developers for Reddit like thousands of dollars like a day, I think, or something. It's a ridiculous amount of money. A lot of people are mad about it. Yeah, the API. A lot of people are mad about it. And so a lot of Reddits have been shut down because they were boycotted. And one of the main problems that a lot of it is that some of the APIs are that were boycotted were auto modding like APIs. So the or the like third party applications. So people could only run their subreddits really by using these third party apps, and now they can't because the apps are shut down because they can't afford to pay. So that's as far as I know. What I don't know anything else. There's two videos, so we're gonna watch this one, and there's another one that happened.
It's with a heavy heart that I have to deliver some tragic news that I'm sure you've already seen and have probably spent the better part of your afternoon crying about. Reddit is currently down. The narwhal is not baconing today, my friends. This is not a wholesome Chungus moment. Reddit is offline, and there's good reason for it. Many of you probably saw over the last week or so that there was an organized protest with most of the subreddits on the platform about API changes, and maybe there's too much mumbo jumbo, scary, frightening big words and acronyms that you didn't even bother to look into. So that's what I'm going to do here, is break down the situation on why there was a Reddit strike in the first place and what the future could hold for all the Reddit mods that are now stranded without a home to go back to or a place, a domain to rule over. Now, I joke about the situation, but Reddit is legitimately one of the top 10 most visited sites in the world, so the fact that it's down right now due to this strike is actually really impressive. Like, it's genuinely surprising.
If you have a problem and you need it fixed, what do? You Google it. What are the first two things that show up? A YouTube video and a Reddit post. So, yeah.
How much the community came together in order to protest the Reddit changes. So, what sparked this Armageddon, this doomsday for Redditors? It was a change to how Reddit was going to be conducting business. They did their best EA impression here and got very greedy. So they decided they were going to start charging for API access, and they were charging a fucking fat load of barnacles for it too. API access allows things like third-party apps to exist. It needs the API access to function, and Reddit was going to begin charging for that access. So the biggest one is called Apollo, and it helps users read Reddit threads. It's something many power users were...
So a lot of now charging for API access, I don't know if he's going to talk about this, isn't actually a bad thing. Mainly because what this discourages is AI scrapers. People who like small groups of people who are just like scrape huge massive data sets. Essentially just go through like a bunch of using the API, use a bunch of like stuff through Reddit, and just extract all the information and then just pump it into their large language model, their chat GPT, their version of it. And it's essentially it's just free labor that they're just stealing from Reddit essentially. And that's not, so it's not a bad thing to have to charge for API, but to charge 20 million annually and to not have like the prices set based on like who they're dealing with is kind of, and like have like a set price is kind of shit. Because like you have like Microsoft for ChatGPT, they could pay and probably should pay 20 million annually for its access, especially with how in depth they're probably going into it. But like Apollo, who's supposed to be using it as it essentially is like a little thing in the background to help users and stuff like that is a small developer, no, they shouldn't be paying 20 million.
Familiar with, but something
That's where most people are like upset about, from what I understand. Is it's not the fact that they're doing it, it's that it's so egregious how heavy-handed they're being with it.
I didn't know about until recently. And according to the developer of Apollo, it would cost nearly $20 million annually under this new pricing model, which is a ton of pickles. That's far beyond the realm of possibility for pretty much any third-party developer. So effectively, Reddit was killing third-party apps because nobody could afford to pay the API fee for their services anymore. And it didn't just affect third-party apps, it also affected mod tools, as I understand it as well.
Yeah.
So this new pricing scheme, fresh out of the brain of Mr. Krabs, shaking everyone down for their lunch money, had a large set of consequences that effectively shut off a lot of what people were used to. And it wasn't something that the community was thrilled about. This was not a policy change that was getting a lot of updates. So the community, as well as a lot of the biggest subreddit mods, as well as just the biggest subreddits in general, came together and decided that they were going to do a strike, a Reddit blackout, where they're going to be taking their
I believe the Final Fantasy 14 Reddit was part of the blackout. Give me a second to actually like. Come on. There we go.
subreddits private, meaning you can't access them anymore. Basically, just shutting them down temporarily. And that's led to our current situation. There was even a live stream tracking how many subreddits were going offline, and it's still going right now. And you can see it's a lot. I also tuned into this stream a little bit last night, and I bore witness to one of the saddest things I've ever laid my eyes upon. Breaking news, r/tits went down. That'll finally put the pressure on the Reddit admins to overturn their decision here. No more r/tits. Jesus Christ, it's getting serious. And it's only continued to get more serious.
I was like mid-bite. Oh my god. r/tits went down. Not r/tits. What's next? r/titty drop? God.
We're in the end game now. Not only is r/tits banished to the Shadow Realm in protest, r/tiny tits has also vanished.
Okay, that's fine.
So if that doesn't
they were really close to vanishing already, so it's fine. Now if r/big tits somehow went away,
screws on the Reddit admins to overturn this greedy policy, I just don't know what will. Now, I genuinely do think that this strike has been remarkably successful. This is a legitimate "we did it, Reddit" moment. The site isn't working because so many subreddits have gone offline. It's not like Reddit themselves, like the upper echelon of the Reddit Illuminati, came in and just shut it down or something and as their form of protest. This is the site not working because so many communities are all going private at once, it seems. When you just try and go on the site's front page, it doesn't generate anything for you, it just kind of says there's a problem. But if you directly go to one of the subreddits that isn't participating in the protest, it will work. Mudahar just made a video covering this and he went to r/sinkpissers and they were still online. That was 3 hours ago, and I just tried it again. And these brave patriots pissing in sinks are still here operating just fine on the platform.
Oh my god, what?
So it's not like Reddit itself is down, it's just so many subreddits have gone private that the website doesn't
I wonder if r/antiwork is still up.
seem to know what to generate on the front page anymore. But if you go to a specific subreddit that isn't participating, it still functions. So like if you really love piss sinking, or whoa, sink pissing, then you can go there and consume that content with no problem at all. This is actually a really interesting situation because Reddit is a legitimate top 10 most visited website in the world. It is a platform that everyone accesses at some point, and I make jokes about Reddit a lot and Redditors in particular, but that's not because I think the platform sucks or anything. I think it actually does have legitimate use from time to time. I think most of the subreddits are dog shit, like most of the default subs and all of that are just absolute worthlessness. But there are certain communities that are just dedicated to providing information in specific areas that have proven time and time again for myself and many friends.
Oh, yeah, like I said in the beginning, like if you have a problem, you Google it, and then there's two things that pop up: a Reddit post that has your answer and a YouTube video. And you can choose if you want to read about your problem and how to fix it or watch a video on how to fix it. And that's how the internet has worked for the past like 5 years.
To actually be a very good resource to learn things and figure out how to fix problems. Like you get the information without all of the bloat of looking it up on an article. It's just the best way of sometimes getting quick fixes to problems. So I really do think Reddit as a platform does provide a good service from time to time, though the water does get muddy with how awful a lot of the other subs are. But overall, I don't think it's like the worst website ever. That title still belongs comfortably to either Twitter or Facebook. Pick your poison. So to see that this strike is actually,
I don't know which one would be
like
worse.
effectively shutting down Reddit for most people is very impressive. And I think it's a good thing overall because I never support when a company gets greedy like this. So I think standing up against it is great. And Reddit is a platform that legitimately can't exist without the Reddit mods and the subreddits and all of that. It is entirely community driven. All of the content on that platform is user generated. So if the users never flip back on the subreddits, you lose all of the content, thus there's no reason to ever go to Reddit ever again. If they just pack up and go elsewhere like a mass
Yeah, most Reddit mods aren't paid because it's like subreddits and the like they just like the creators of it mod it, or people who are really active in it mod it. It's not like Reddit is going out seeking a lot of employees to mod the whole site.
Exodus. This is like fucking rapture for Redditors here at this point. Like, it is a pretty big deal. Now, I do think this entire Reddit blackout, all the protests here, have kind of shot themselves in the foot because they made it clear for a lot of the big subreddits that are offline right now that they were only doing it for 48 hours. Which I think was a huge fucking blunder. You just gave up scholars, mate, right there. That doesn't really put a ton of pressure on the Reddit higher up anymore because you have given them an end date. You have told them when it stops. So they can just grit their teeth and bear it. Just endure for 2 days and then it's business as usual. Just 2 days of fucking holding on tight like it's a goddamn roller coaster and then you're back into clear skies.
I think most protests there's a set date usually. Like they're like we're going down for this long and then we're going to go back to work and you have this long to fix the problems or we're going to just do it again and again until you fix the problems and you're just going to keep losing money. I believe is how boycotts usually work.
They shouldn't have said that they're only going offline for
Like legal boycott, because there's a legal way to do it and there's a illegal way to, or not boycott but strike. It's essentially a strike. Like legal strikes, I think you have to get like you have to put in like a thing for it. Otherwise it's like illegal. Like I don't remember exactly what the laws are, but I believe you have to set like a set date of like we're gonna strike for this date to this date, and then um and then you can then go back to work, and then if the things don't change by your demanded change point, you set up another strike.
2 days. I just don't think that puts enough pressure on them to actually get rid of the pricing model here for the API because they only have 2 days of their service being offline. I mean, that shit happens all the time in MMOs just for normal maintenance when things fuck up, right? Like, it's not going to all of a sudden change the way they're viewing their business model. I know some subreddits are going offline indefinitely, but a lot of the ones that I've read are doing 48 hours. And I think the reason that they made it known that it's a 48-hour protest is so that way the community members didn't like think that it was dead forever. They didn't want them to feel like now they no
Makes
longer
sense.
have that community to go to for information. So I think it was just trying to keep them updated with what's going on. But in doing so, I think it was a bit of a misstep for the overall strike because like I said, with only a 48-hour offline period, Reddit I don't think is going to overturn this decision because they'll just get away with it after 2 days. But I would quickly like to toy around with the idea that this does end up killing Reddit as a website entirely. It ceases to exist. That would be, I think, the biggest collapse of a service ever. Like, I was talking about this on stream, but the one that immediately popped in my head was MySpace when MySpace ultimately failed.
Fucking god. The final days. Reddit. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. That's so
Failed.
funny.
And then Tumblr, which I actually just totally forgot about, but Tumblr was another like top 10 website that killed itself when it banned porn.
Oh
That
yeah. Tumblr's dead.
pretty much buried it on the spot when they implemented that new policy. I know it still is around. It's just not even close to how popular it used to be. But in with Reddit, this could be a legitimate like dead site. If the community doesn't come back, if they don't all unprivate their subreddits, if they go elsewhere or something, then that website can't exist anymore because it is legitimately only user generated content. You
It's not that hard to make a forum, and all Reddit is just a server of multiple forums and like a forum creation tool. And it's, how old is it at this point? I'm pretty sure someone who is like fairly good at decent at coding, like a small team of like, I don't know, like three dudes in a garage could probably get, like, they could probably take Reddit source code and then like retool it like almost a better way using more recent like coding methods and more recent web design, and post it and call it something completely different. And you have like five people doing that in like the next like week, and we have like four Reddit clones that people are exitizing to. This was the days of old. Is Reddit open source though? I don't know. Well, I mean, like, there's ways to get the code. I'm not meaning like actually like copy paste it, not like how like Kick is like just straight up uh the source code of Twitch copy pasted essentially. But like they, they it's not, it wouldn't be too hard for a group of people in the current day. I should go on Chat GPT, right? And be like, hey, Chat GPT, write me a source code for a server based forum generating um social media site. And it'll write me that fucking code. I mean, it probably wouldn't be able to write that large of a code, but it could write like big chunks of it. One of the Discord I'm in, they had Reddit look like they slowly moving to the post Discord made like Reddit Refuge or something. I mean, Discord has already like slowly kind of become like a Reddit a little bit. It's too closed off though. Like you have to enter the Discords, right? But essentially, like Discord servers are subreddits, right? They're just not as open, right? I can't just like Google a Discord server. If there was something, if like, so what I'm saying is that like, go back 10 years and every single website was coming and going like in like a 2 year span. Something was like really relevant and then it was dead like 2 years later. And there was a better version of it that was essentially a clone that adapted better, now took its place, right? So um we've just been in a really stable part of the internet, right? Like YouTube, Twitch, Reddit, they've Google, Twitter, they've all remained so dominant and so stable. Well, like, while these don't really seem that stable, right? Like there was the YouTube adpocalypse, there was the Twitch adpocalypse, there was that we're kind of still going through as well on Twitch. Twitter with everything going on with Elon Musk. I think the Elon Musk with Twitter was kind of like the like not red herring, but like the start, the call to internet website instability again, because it was unstable for like ever, for like decades pretty much. Um and it entered some stability, but it's not going to stay. And you can really see it now already with all the look at all the Twitch alikes, right? You've got Kick, you've got Rumble. Is it Rumble or Mumble? I don't remember. I don't think it's Mumble. but there's a lot of other ones. YouTube is now competing with Twitch, right? And you've got those sites are starting to try and compete with YouTube, and then you're gonna have Reddit likes. You got Discord, um, things like that. Like it. There's gonna be a lot of I feel like a lot of and especially if you look at all these tech companies laying off thousands of people, you now have thousands of unemployed tech bros who worked at these companies now unemployed. I think I started the sentence with unemployed. Um, in a period where all of these companies are shooting themselves in the face, in the on the foot. There's gonna be a lot of lookalikes popping up, and we're gonna enter a stage of like a full free for all probably in the tech industry in like the next couple months, or on like the web spaces. I'm guessing.
You lose the users, you lose the whole site. And I remember reading last night, as well as I'd always heard this before, that
Yeah, pretty much the death of the usable internet. Exactly. They're all using Gunbreaker to shoot themselves in the face. Exactly.
only like the top 5 Reddit mods control like a large portion of the top subreddits. So all of your subreddits, for the most part, that people go to, your default subs, your huge players, are controlled by like the same 5 people. If you piss them off and they all just leave and take the subreddits offline with them, they alone have dealt a very deep blow to Reddit itself. So that is pretty crazy just how much power the people have on Reddit in terms of like this protest and its impact on the site as a
Which is a
whole.
good thing.
So overall, I just find this whole thing very fascinating, and I am hoping for the best outcome here. I hope that the community wins here and Reddit won't charge this crazy exorbitant fee for API access, because there's nothing wrong with having third-party apps, right? I think most people would agree in a lot of cases third-party apps are much better than the official one. I don't use the official Reddit app, but from everything I understand, it's a pile of shit compared to the other options available from.
I mean, like from what I understand, most people don't even use the Reddit app. They either use third party or they just use their web browser. All the old mods enforcing the subs back open. So I want to guess how that's gonna go. That would be interesting, especially because like a lot these subreddits are made by people, right? They're made by these people on this person's website, and then he's just gonna kick the control away from those people, and then just take control of themselves. Yeah, there's gonna be new Reddit likes that are gonna rise up. Exactly what I was talking about. That is an interesting uh thing to think about. I do know that there was something that happened with the Apollo creator. So he was talking about Apollo earlier, right? And so like Reddit was kind of pulling a he said she said a little bit, like, oh my god, Apollo, like Apollo creator was saying this, but really we were saying this. And the Apollo creator lives in a Canadian province where it's a single party recording state. If you don't know what that means, it means that, so by law, there's some states in like the United States, and I think there's like a couple provinces in Canada, and probably I don't know any of the rules in other states, in other countries, where in order to record someone and be able to use that recording, you need one party's permission. So if we're in a call together, right, and I say I can record this, I'm one of the parties, and I can record it and I can use it. That was one of the reasons why Logan Paul was going to sue CoffeeZilla, but CoffeeZilla was, I believe, in Texas. That's a single party recording state. So he, or it might have been California. I'm not entirely sure, but the state he lived in, he is a single party recording state, and he was a party in it, and he was consenting, so he was able to record it and use that recording. So Apollo was also in that, the guy who was running Apollo, and he printed the fucking receipts. He posted the audio files of the conversations that he was having with Reddit, and like it made Reddit look super bad. Drops all the receipts, blows the CEO out of the water. Exactly. And then the CEO came back and was still like, "Oh my god, he's lying. Why is he lying?" It's like, But and then the CEO then said he was lying after the receipts came out. Like, no, we hear your fucking voice. And then also said that and it was also like being like, oh my god, this is illegal. How dare he record? Like, this is such in bad faith. It's a really bad take.
from third-party developers. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's it. See ya.
Okay,
The death of Reddit.
don't care about this.
Good
That's
evening, everyone.
Asmon reacting to the exact same video we just watched. New video
See
is
change
Reddit
Reddit.
actually. So that one was like a week ago. Is that actually what he said? I didn't listen to the recordings. My knowledge was secondhand. That's really funny if that's actually something he said. I didn't say that, and even if I did, you didn't understand me. And even if you did understand me,
They were going to start charging.
that's such a Reddit fucking response too. That is like peak Redditor response. You don't understand me, and even if you did, you didn't understand me. If you did understand me, there's nuances to this that you don't understand. Okay, you fucking mouth breather. I can just see it typing on Reddit right now with like 352 downvotes.
A few days ago, we witnessed an uprising on the same scale as the American Revolution. It was a huge movement on Reddit, where a lot of the major subreddits and just a generally large number of subreddits on the site all decided to go private, effectively shutting down as a way of protesting a Reddit policy change where they were going to start charging for API access. And it wasn't cheap. We're talking Scrooge McDuck level of wealth here that'd be required to keep up with the API cost.
Again, I think the API cost is something fine to do, but one, have it cost way less, and two, have it be adjusted based on who you're dealing with. Don't have a set price, have a negotiable price. That didn't happen, and if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, that's not a big deal. And if it is, that's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. This is the OG version. It's a narcissist spiral meme. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but it's funny. Gaslighting is shit, though. That didn't fucking happen. You're imagining it. Oh my fucking god.
The biggest third-party developer and platform is Apollo for Reddit, and it was estimated to cost $20 million a year under the new pricing guidelines from Reddit for the API access. And all of these third-party apps and developers do need API access to exist, so since none of them can afford to shell out 20 million clams, it effectively kills third-party apps as well as some Reddit mod tools that use API access. And it was a heavily down-duted decision. The community was very upset because third-party apps are the preferred method of perusing Reddit for a lot of people. Apparently, the official Reddit app is complete fucking trash. I'm not a huge power user of Reddit, so I was ignorant to all of that. However, I always stand by my belief that if a third-party app is offering a better service than the official one, it should have the right to exist, and it's wrong to try and force them out just because you made a dog shit official app. And I'm also never, pumping my fist and celebrating a company's insatiable gluttony and greed. So I've been out here with the foam finger on the sideline.
You know how you should force out those third-party apps? By making your app better.
Cheering and rooting for the Redditors that are striking, and it was actually wildly successful. On day one of the protest, there was like 10,000 subreddits almost that went private. They shut down, which effectively shut down Reddit for the majority of users because they couldn't generate content anymore since there wasn't any content left. Reddit is a platform that only exists because users are on it. So if the users aren't there, there's fucking nothing on Reddit. It has no purpose, no reason to exist. It's like the butter bot from Rick and Morty with no butter. So Reddit wasn't working. It was a wildly successful day one of the strike. And now we're 3 days.
Well, that's what I was thinking about, making like their app better. Is like just steal the fucking third-party apps. What the third-party app's doing that's better than yours. Just take that and make it your own. But yeah, the good that would also be a kind of shitty thing, just stealing the third-party devs like stuff. The good ending would have been hiring them to use it.
Days past the initial strike, and I want to give a little post-game analysis here on where we're at. What you're looking at here is the CEO of Reddit. I've actually never seen him myself here, and he's pretty much exactly the mental image I'd have of a Reddit higher up on the food chain. It
Is this Pyro's uncle? What it looks like.
actually looks like they just typed Redditor into Midjourney and generated this image. This is the CEO, and he basically came out and said that this whole strike is a big nothing burger. It's not a big deal. It'll pass. All blowups do. And they didn't really see a huge effect on Reddit as a whole from the strikes. Now, unfortunately, I don't think a ton of people are surprised here, and this is something I mentioned in the initial video I made on the situation. There was a huge fumble here, a big fucking blunder on the chessboard opening from the Reddit protests. They gave an end date. They said, we are going dark for 48 hours. They told them when it's going to stop. So, most people, myself included,
From what I understood, most of the big ones didn't come back up at the 48 hours. They kept it closed.
understood that this wasn't going to really put the wood on the Reddit CEO or a ton of pressure to fix anything, because he'd only have to grit his teeth and bear it for 2 days, and then it goes back to business as usual. And that's exactly what he's saying with a shit-eating smile on his face. He is just saying, yeah, it's gonna blow over. We just have to go 2 days here. Oh well. You know, and then he just like brushes his shoulder off. No biggie. He banked on Reddit users being more addicted to karma than heroin. So after the 2 day protesting period, users would flock right back to the
Oh, the 14 subreddit is indefinitely down for right now. That's crazy.
service like Disney World was opening again and Spider-Man mascots were ready for pictures. So everyone just floods right back to Reddit. And unfortunately, he's kind of right. We're past the 2 day initial protesting period, so a lot of subreddits are no longer private. But there are a ton of them that still are. There's a lot of subreddits that didn't agree with 2 days, saying like that's not enough, that's not going to put enough pressure on them, he's just going to endure it and it's not going to lead to change, which I think is the right mentality. That is correct. It didn't lead to change. 2 days was not enough. So a lot of subreddits have said that they're just going to stay offline indefinitely. And a lot of them still are. So going on Reddit right now, a lot of the bigger subreddits still aren't available to access, which is actually a pretty big deal for the platform, but I guess we'll have to wait and see if they can truly stick to their guns, really test their strength and willpower, their resolve to not have a subreddit to rule over. Can the Reddit mods stand strong and truly put the pressure on Reddit and stay offline until Reddit gets rid of this API greedy change? But in the meantime, the Reddit CEO Steve Huffman is just kind of gloating and spitting in their face, saying that this whole blackout hasn't had significant revenue impact and that the company anticipates that many of the subreddits will be back online by Wednesday. Unfortunately, Steve Huffman's no Nostradamus here. He got that prediction very wrong. His Mayan calendar was off. It's now Thursday as of me making this video, and I wouldn't say most of the subreddits have come back. A large number have, but then there's still a very large number that haven't. He then said, there's a lot of noise with this one. Among the noisiest we've seen, please know that our teams are on it, and like all blowups on Reddit, this one will pass. We absolutely must ship what we said we would. The only long-term solution is improving our product. In the short term, we have a few upcoming critical mod tool launches we need to nail. He just kind of views this whole Reddit blackout as just a bunch of pesky mosquitoes buzzing around annoying him. They need to stay focused on the goal. They gotta ship out some mod tools.
Focused.
And they've gotta make sure they stand by what they said they'd ship out. They can't give an inch or else Redditors will take a mile. It honestly seems like this is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to him in his life.
You
This
must
like
stay focused.
cyber war that he's fighting. He's living out his anime fantasies of being the protagonist. He's the general giving orders to his troops. He even went as far as to say, I'm sorry to say this, but please be mindful of wearing Reddit gear in public. Some folks are really upset and we don't want you to be the object of their frustration. He thinks that because someone's wearing Reddit gear in public, they're gonna be like stoned to death or given a swirly in the bathroom.
I mean, you can't say that there's not going to be some Redditor Karen. That sounds like an oxymoron, but I'm pretty sure there's probably some Redditor Karen. No, sorry, Redditor Kyle. That's probably more so correctly. And that's gonna run up and be like, "What the fuck?" Steal his puppy and run away with it.
Or a fucking atomic wedgie. Brother, I don't think there's mangled corpses of Reddit employees littering the sidewalks out in out in society right now. He's making it sound like wearing Reddit merch is a death sentence. It's people upset that you have made a greedy change and they're taking that power back. That your site doesn't exist without them. They know that. So they are striking hoping that you will overturn this decision. They're not out there threatening the lives of employees or anything like that. They're frustrated at a change you are making because you are a greedy sack of shit. You're like this soulless zombie in a suit who has discovered that most people are using third-party apps because yours is trash.
So here's the real question: if they did like kick out the mods and then just take control of the subreddits, um, I mean, would those subreddits still be used, or would like the more so than a strike, would it be more of a boycott and like the people not even use those subreddits? That's a real question.
and you're driving them out because you know they can't afford to pay for these price changes. Like I don't know why he's acting this way about it. Like, be careful not to wear Reddit merch. Don't let anyone see that you're a Redditor. Make sure no one smells that you're a Redditor. It could be the end of your life. It's so goofy. But it's even
I
goofier
mean, it'd be hard to smell if they're a redditor. I mean, like they kind of smell the same as anime fans, right?
because the whole email memo leaked, so you can actually read how he talks to his employees, and it's so fucking embarrassing. So he kicks off this internal memo by saying, "Hi, snooze." And I've never seen that word in my life. I didn't know what that word meant. I thought he had just dropped a slur in here. I had to look it up to try and piece together the puzzle and figure out what that meant. And apparently, snooze are like little Reddit avatar things. So he's basically just doing what Discord used to do with Wumpus and Springle, the help support elf. He's basically just RPing, which is so fucking embarrassing. That is the most on-brand Redditor shit ever. He goes on to say, starting last night, about 1,000 subreddits have gone private. We do anticipate many of them will come back by Wednesday, as many have said as much. While we knew this was coming, it is a challenge nevertheless, and we have our work cut out for us. A number of snooze have been working around the clock, adapting to infrastructure strains, engaging with communities, and responding to the myriad of issues related to the blackout. Thank you, team. I think this perfectly highlights the problem with giving them an end date on your protest. In the memo, he's even like, yeah, we know many of them will be back by Wednesday because they told us. Like, there was just no reason to fucking put a time frame on it, like a time limit. Hey, guys, we're protesting, but just for 48 hours. That's it. So, yeah, don't worry about it. It's just a 48-hour protest. That was fucking silly. Now, that number went from 1,000 subreddits going private to about 10,000, which I think
Cool.
is far more than he expected. However, a lot of them have come back now, but not all of them. Still a large number are down. But you can see how not seriously he took it. Like, he didn't care that much about it internally. He's just like, yeah, we knew this was probably going to come, and it's, somewhat of a headache, but you guys have got this. It's not that big of a deal. Thanks, team. Good work, snooze. We do not see any significant revenue impact so far and will continue to monitor. And then he goes into what I've already covered, where he's talking about how it'll blow over because everything on Reddit blows over because everyone's too addicted to the platform. They'll always come back. Then he goes in to say, the two biggest third-party apps, Apollo and RIF, along with a couple of others, said they plan to shut down at the end of the month, but we're still in conversations with some of the others. And as I mentioned in my post last week, we'll exempt accessibility-focused apps and has so far reached agreements with Red Reader and Dystopia. Now, this is something that I think is worth talking about just briefly.
See, so they are like in like doing business individually with some of these apps. Just continue doing that and price different, set separate prices.
He says that accessibility focused third party apps will be exempt from the pricing changes, but I think that's ephemeral. I think that's just a little band aid here for a PR move where he's going to allow these apps that focus on accessibility to exist exempt from this price change, but only for a brief period of time. I feel like as those become more and more popular, he would start to subject them to that pricing change as well. This is just one of those things where he's trying to save face, like, these are direct competition, and I don't like the developer of Apollo. We had very dirty talks. For those that don't know, Apollo and Reddit were directly communicating, and things went very sour. Fucking Reddit started accusing the Apollo dev of like blackmail and a bunch of other things. Just like started throwing a bunch of feces on his face,
Yeah.
and then eventually the Apollo dev had to come out and clear his name. So that was a whole can of worms. So this is the Reddit CEO going like, those are bad actors, they're shady, but the accessibility focused third-party apps, they're fine. But I feel like that wouldn't last very long if they started to become more and more popular. he'd once again just make sure that they pay this crazy API price once
Probably.
they're more popular. But that's just pure speculation from a fucking dumb idiot like me. Overall, I find this whole situation pretty interesting because this is a top 10 website in the world, and the users here really have an incredible amount
So
of
yeah, it is
power,
still
which is
down.
uncommon in situations like this. If the users all
I
just
wonder if
agree,
I wonder if Muda put anything up on like any of like the recordings between Apollo and Reddit. That seems more like something that Muda would do.
Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar. Today's a rare one. Usually my videos on topics are one and dones, but when I'm making like a third video on a topic, that's because it's so massive and fluid that I have to discuss it, alright? Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Reddit once again! Now for those of you who don't know, there's no surprise, Reddit's an important part of any YouTube.
Yeah.
Mega massive bills. So that's you've got all these about the blackout. I googled literally Reddit blackout live stream. Oh wow, what's that? Reddit? Let's go click here. Takes me to live stream fail, which itself is a private community. And then I had to actually go to Twitch to find out 8,440 out of proposed 8,839 of the most popular subreddits have been taken down. So for instance, some of these Reddits, like
When was this? 2 days ago?
for instance,
Okay.
Top Talent went down, which has about one to other pages like r/video games. These are Reddits that actually are worth at. So realistically, this may be your last resort. Just putting it out there. Now, last time I talked about it, I said maybe there could be another website like Reddit that could kick in. Honestly, these websites are so massive that to immediately create like a competitor, like in at least a live streaming space, like Twitch has Kick and YouTube has Rumble, but it's going to take a while before any other company comes in. But the moment that happens, and if these Redditors
Reddit would be easier to a lot easier than like I well maybe I don't know, because with like self picture hosting and self video hosting, you might run into some similar problems as like YouTube and Twitch. I do know that like live broadcasting video is really expensive. With communicating with ISPs for direct channels, which is why Twitch and YouTube cost so much and why they're constantly trying to get more money out of it, because they hemorrhage money. So that is one thing I didn't think about on like Reddit. Actually, I forgot about like them having pictures and videos on the site as well, not just like text threads.
want to keep, like, if the Reddit administration wants to keep going down this path, I actually don't foresee like an opposing platform.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. He didn't show it. All right.